Take a look at your life right now. Really look at it. Are you making moves, or are you just reacting to the moves being made against you? See, most people spend their 20s, and let's be honest, their 30s too, playing a game they were never invited to win. You were handed a script by your parents, your teachers, and your successful relatives. They told you, work hard, be nice, wait your turn. But here's the dark truth they didn't mention. That script wasn't written to make you a leader. It was written to make you predictable. I remember being 22, sitting in a tiny apartment, feeling like I was winning because I was following the rules. I was the reliable guy, the good employee. I thought the world was a meritocracy. I thought if I put in the coins, the machine would give me the prize. It took me losing everything to realize that the machine is rigged. I wasn't being virtuous. I was being easy to manage. I was a high-functioning pawn. And the worst part? I was proud of it. In psychology, there's a concept called learned helplessness. If you can convince someone that their only path to safety is through someone else's approval, you own them. You don't need chains when you have social expectations. The world doesn't want you to be powerful. It wants you to be polite. Because polite people don't ask for raises. Polite people don't disrupt the status quo. Polite people stay in the bucket while the other crabs pull them down. I spent a decade unlearning the good advice that kept me broke, tired, and invisible. If I could go back and talk to that 22-year-old version of myself, I wouldn't give him a hug. I'd give him a cold shower and a set of rules that actually work in the real world, the one that exists in the shadows, behind the corporate smiles and the "we're a family" office culture. I'm going to give you the 5 pieces of advice that feel a little wrong to say out loud, but are the only reasons I'm standing here today. But a fair warning, once you see the strings, you can't go back to being a puppet. You're going to lose some friends. You're going to stop being Kaku, the nice one. And frankly, that's exactly what needs to happen. The first one is the reason your honesty is actually a weakness that people are using to control you. Advice number 1. Weaponize your no. We need to talk about your yes problem. From the time you were 5, you were rewarded for being agreeable. Be a good kid, they said. Help your friends, they said. What they were actually doing was conditioning you to be a yes man, a person who prioritizes other people's agendas over their own. In dark psychology, this is known as the compliance trap. When you say yes to every small request, you aren't building a reputation as a team player. You are signaling to the predators in the room that your time has no cost. And if your time has no cost, your life has no direction. Here is the cold, hard truth. Every yes you give to someone else is a no you are giving to yourself. Think about that coworker or friend who always asks for just 5 minutes of your time. You know the one. You're in the middle of a deep focus project, or maybe you're finally relaxing after a brutal week. They approach you with that half smile, asking for a favor. You feel that social pressure, that politeness reflex, and you say, "Sure, I can help. I'm just doing X, but I can put it aside." Stop right there. You just lost the exchange. The moment you offered an explanation for why you were hesitant, you handed them the keys to your life. In their mind, your X, your work, your rest, your dream, is now a variable they can negotiate. If you say, "I can't, I have to finish this report," they'll say, "Oh, that's not due until Friday. This will only take a second." You've entered a negotiation where you are the only one with something to lose. The power of the unexplained no. The most powerful tool in your social arsenal is the word no, followed by dead silence. When you say, "I can't do that," and then stop talking, something fascinating happens in the other person's brain. They experience a cognitive itch. They expect an excuse. They expect a handle they can grab onto to pull you back into compliance. When you don't give it to them, you create a vacuum. You become an enigma. You aren't busy. You are unavailable. There is a massive psychological difference between being busy and being unavailable. A busy person is someone whose schedule is full but can be bargained with. An unavailable person is someone whose time is a premium currency, the scarcity principle in action. Think about diamonds. They aren't actually that rare, but the perception of their scarcity makes them worth thousands. Your no is what creates your scarcity. I wish I'd known this when I was starting out. I thought that by saying yes to every project and every social invite, I was opening doors. In reality, I was just becoming the guy people went to for the boring work they didn't want to do themselves. I was the reliable one. And reliable is just corporate speak for the person we can exploit without them complaining. If you want people to respect your yes, you have to make them fear your no. You have to weaponize your boundaries. Next time someone asks you for a favor that doesn't align with your goals, try this. Look them in the eye, say, "I'm not able to do that right now." And then, this is the hard part, do not look away. Don't fidget. Don't check your phone. Don't offer a maybe next time. Just let the silence sit there like a heavy weight. It will feel uncomfortable. Your nice guy conditioning will be screaming at you to fill the gap. Don't. The person who can sit in the silence the longest is the one who holds the power in the interaction. You'll watch them scramble, try to make an excuse for you, and eventually walk away with a newfound, subconscious respect for your time. You aren't being mean. You're being expensive. And in this world, people only take care of the things they can't easily replace. But here is the most dangerous part. Once you start saying no to the world starts to push back. And the hardest push won't come from your enemies. It won't come from a cold boss or a stranger. It's going to come from the people sitting at your dinner table. It's going to come from the people in your group chat. The ones who claim to have your back are often the very ones holding it against the wall. And that leads us to the most painful realization I ever had to face. Advice number 2. Your friends are anchors, not lifeboats. We are taught that loyalty is the ultimate virtue. We're told that sticking by your friends is what honorable people do. But in the world of high-stakes psychology, there is a much darker force at play. The crab mentality. If you put a single crab in a bucket, it will easily climb out. But if you put a group of crabs in that same bucket and one tries to escape, the others will reach up and pull it back down. If it persists, they will tear off its claws. They don't do this because they want to escape. They do it because if they can't leave, they'll be damned if you do. Your social circle functions exactly like that bucket. Think about the last time you had a big, terrifying, stupid idea. Maybe you wanted to quit your job to start a business, or you decided to get into the best shape of your life, or you started learning a high-value skill that takes you away from the Friday night bar scene. Remember the reaction? It wasn't, "How can I help you win?" It was a smirk. It was a joke wrapped in a warning. "Oh, look at Mr. CEO over here," or "Don't forget us little people when you're famous." In dark psychology, sarcasm is often a tool used to police social boundaries. When your friends mock your ambition, they aren't just kidding. They are using a psychological mechanism called social leveling. Your growth is a direct threat to their ego. If you stay the same, they feel safe. If you level up, you become a mirror that reflects their own laziness and lack of discipline back at them. And people hate mirrors. I spent years keeping anchors in my life because I felt guilty. I thought I was being a good friend by staying loyal to people I had nothing in common with anymore except for the old days. I was lighting myself on fire to keep them warm. I wish someone had told me that loyalty to a losing team is just a slow form of suicide. The identity prison. Your friends are the keepers of your old identity. They know the you that failed, the you that was insecure, the you that was easy to control. When you try to change, they are the first ones to remind you of who you used to be. They don't see your potential. They see your history. And they will use that history to guilt-trip you back into the bucket. You've changed, they'll say, like it's a bad thing. Answer: yes, that was the point. If you want to know where you'll be in 5 years, look at the 5 people you spend the most time with. If they are comfortable, you will stay comfortable. If they are broke, you will stay broke. If they are cynical, your dreams will die a death of 1,000 cuts. You need to perform a cold-blooded audit of your circle. Ask yourself, if I met these people today for the first time, would I still want them in my life? Or am I just keeping them around because of a contract we signed in high school that should have expired a decade ago? You don't need to have a big, dramatic breakup with your friends. That's amateur moves. Remember advice number 1. Use silence. Just stop being the one who reaches out. Stop being the one who justifies their bad habits. Stop being the reliable one in the group of losers. When you stop providing the energy that keeps those dead-end relationships alive, they will wither away on their own. It will be lonely for a while. It will feel cold. But you cannot fly while you are holding on to people who are committed to staying on the ground. You've cut the anchors. You're standing on the deck of your own ship, and for the first time, it's quiet. But that's the scary part, isn't it? Without the noise of other people's drama, you're forced to look at your own map. And most people panic here. They go searching for passion like it's some magical treasure chest buried in the sand. But I'm going to tell you something your career counselor was too soft to admit. Passion is a luxury for people who have already won. For the rest of us, passion is a trap that keeps you waiting for a feeling that might never show up. You don't need a why to get started. You need a hell no. Advice number 3. Build an anti-vision society loves the vision board aesthetic. They want you to cut out pictures of Lamborghinis, infinity pools, and sunsets in Bali. They tell you to manifest your dreams by staring at things you don't have. But there's a dark psychological glitch they aren't telling you about. Mental contentment. When you spend your time visualizing the perfect life, your brain can't actually tell the difference between the visualization and reality. It releases a hit of dopamine as if you've already achieved it. You feel satisfied. You feel relaxed. And because you feel relaxed, you lose the hunger required to actually do the work. You've successfully tricked your brain into thinking the hunt is over, so it shuts down your drive. If you want to move, and move fast, you need to stop looking at the light and start looking at your shadow. Humans are biologically wired to move away from pain much faster than we move toward pleasure. If I tell you there's $100 bill a mile away, you might walk. If I tell you there's a hungry tiger 10 feet behind you, you will sprint. An anti-vision is that tiger. I want you to sit down and imagine the version of yourself 10 years from now that failed. Don't hold back. Make it vivid. Imagine yourself stuck in that same soul-crushing cubicle, smelling the same burnt office coffee, working for a boss who doesn't know your name. Imagine looking in the mirror and seeing a face aged by regret and what-ifs. Imagine your kids looking at you and seeing a person who gave up on their dreams because they were tired. Does that make you feel sick? Good. That's disgust, and in the world of dark psychology, disgust is a much more reliable fuel than inspiration. Inspiration is a fair-weather friend. It disappears the moment you're tired. But disgust? Disgust will get you out of bed at 5 a.m. when it's freezing outside, because the thought of staying where you are is more painful than the cold. We're told that resentment is toxic, but like any poison, in the right dose, it's medicine. I wish I'd known that my resentment toward being overlooked was actually my greatest asset. I used to see people who were less talented than me getting the opportunities I wanted, and I'd try to be a bigger person. I was wrong. I should have leaned into that fire. Use your anti-vision to define your boundaries. My anti-vision was being the guy who has to check his bank account before buying a grocery item. It was being the person who has to ask another adult for permission to take a day off. Every time I felt lazy, I'd visualize that pathetic version of myself sitting in a dark room, blaming the world for his problems. I'd look at him and say, "Not today." Your anti-vision isn't just about what you don't want to have. It's about who you refuse to be. When you build an anti-vision, you aren't chasing a goal, you're escaping a fate. It's a permanent state of emergency that keeps you sharp. While everyone else is waiting for the right vibe to start working, you'll be working because you can hear the footsteps of the version of yourself you hate gaining on you. You're finally on fire. You've got the anti-vision. You're running away from that mediocre version of yourself with a level of intensity that people find intimidating. And because you feel this new power surging through you, your natural instinct is going to be to scream it from the rooftops. You'll want to post the day one gym selfie, update your LinkedIn with your new venture, or tell your parents how you're finally going to prove them wrong. Stop. Right there. Every word you speak about your plans is a leak in your engine. You think you're building accountability, but you're actually committing social suicide. In a world where everyone is obsessed with being authentic and seen, the most dangerous thing you can be is invisible. Advice number 4. Practice strategic silence. There is a psychological phenomenon called identity substitution. When you announce a goal to people, "I'm going to lose 20 pounds," or "I'm starting a YouTube channel," your brain receives a premature hit of dopamine. Because you've received social validation and likes for the intent, your brain tricks itself into thinking you've already done the work. You feel the pride of a winner without having stepped onto the battlefield. And that is exactly why you'll quit by week 3. You've already spent the success energy on the announcement. I spent my early 20s being the idea guy. I'd sit at bars and tell anyone who would listen about the apps I was going to build and the books I was going to write. People would nod, say, "That's amazing," and I'd go home feeling like a genius. But I never wrote a single page. I was addicted to the feeling of being a person who does big things, rather than actually being the person who does them. I wish I'd known that a private win is 10 times more powerful than a public promise. But there's a darker reason to keep your mouth shut. Information asymmetry. The less people know about your moves, the less they can sabotage them. You might think your friends want you to win. But as we discussed in Advice 2, Most people only want you to win as long as you aren't winning more than them. The moment you announce a big move, you plant a seed of Essie. People will start helpfully pointing out the risks. They'll tell you about a guy they knew who tried the same thing and failed. They'll check in on you just to see if you've stumbled yet. They aren't being supportive. They're looking for reassurance that you're still in the bucket with them. By staying silent, you deny them the chance to infect your mind with their own limitations. In social settings, silence is a weapon. Most people are terrified of a gap in conversation. They feel the need to fill the air with their plans, their secrets, and their insecurities. When you practice strategic silence, you become a vacuum. If you walk into a room and you don't lead with your story, people will start projecting their own onto you. They'll assume you're more successful, more confident, and more calculated than you actually are. You want to be the person who shows up 6 months later with the result already finished. Don't tell them you're going to the gym. Just show up with a different body. Don't tell them you're starting a business. Just show them the invoice. I wish someone had told me, work in the dark so you can live in the light. Let them wonder why you're suddenly busy. Let them wonder how you afford your life. Let them speculate. The moment you explain your how, you lose your edge. You become a known quantity. And in the game of life, the known quantity is the one that gets managed. Keep your moves in the shadows. Your results should be the first and only noise you make. Once you stop talking about yourself, you'll notice something chilling about everyone else. You'll realize that every person you meet is wearing a mask, a carefully constructed character designed to hide their insecurities, their greed, and their true motives. Most people walk into a room and try to unmask others. Or worse, they try to tear off their own mask to be authentic. That is a rookie mistake. In the theater of life, the person who refuses to play a role is the one who gets written out of the script. If you want to win, you don't need to be yourself. You need to be whoever the room requires you to be. Advice number 5. Mirroring the mask. We've all heard the advice, just be yourself. It's the most common and most destructive lie ever told. Being yourself is great for a Sunday afternoon on your couch. It's a disaster for a boardroom, a high-stakes negotiation, or a first impression. Why? Because the person you are talking to doesn't actually care about the real you. They care about how you make them feel. In psychology, this is known as the chameleon effect, but in the dark world, we call it strategic mirroring. The average person's favorite subject is themselves. Their second favorite subject is people who agree with them. When you walk into a room and try to be interesting, you are competing with their ego. You're saying, look at me. Look at my accomplishments. Look at my personality. You've just made yourself an opponent. I wish I'd known this back when I was desperate to prove my worth. I would walk into meetings and talk 90% of the time, trying to show how smart I was. I left those meetings wondering why I didn't get the deal. I was smart, but I was a threat. I hadn't fed their ego. I had starved it. The real power move is to become a reflective surface. If they speak slowly, you speak slowly. If they use corporate jargon, you use corporate jargon. If they are leaning back, you lean back. This isn't just matching. It's a form of social engineering. You are subconsciously telling their brain, I am safe. I am like you. You can trust me. So what's it going to be? Are you going to stay a pawn? Or are you ready to start moving the pieces? The choice is yours. I'll see you in the shadows.